Well, these are the kids. I'll give them a little.
They have a corn maze that'll keep them occupied.
Absolutely. Six acres, John.
Yeah.
Growing up. Send out the drone.
Drive up to further up. There's the corn maze.
Because I think John Brown was born in Vermont.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to fire one of those.
It should.
They're going to fire one of
White line. We want you guys to see the action but not become part of it. Now, before you is a cannon crew, carry on, in the year 1758. Now, the soldiers that would make up the troops here would of course be infantry, troupes de terre, different regiments from France. Would have been Regiment du Languedoc in his white coat with the blue cuffs, as well as such as the soldier I am portraying. Now, Canada will also provide troops. These are going to be regiments raised in Canada but funded by France, specifically the French Navy. These would include the Canonnier Bombardier, the soldier behind me in his blue coat with the red cuffs. Canada's own regiment of artillery. Now also they would have Troupes de la Marine, soldier in the white cuff with the blue cuffs. It would also be raised by the province of Canada for supplying the cannons and artillery pieces that would have been here at the fort. Now in the year 1757, the French here, under the command of Louis-Joseph Marquis de Montcalm, will take his forces, approximately 8,000 men, down to Fort William Henry and lay siege to the fort. Upon the capture of that fort, he will take the guns out of that fort. The cannons, 31 pieces of artillery in total, English iron guns, bringing them back here to Fort Carillon to augment his artillery stores already here. Now, the different types of guns that would have been throughout this. Now, whether they be these iron guns, bronze guns that are used throughout the time the French are here at the fort, they all have relative barrel of the gun. And down the middle of it is the bouche, or the bore, stretching all the way to the back of the gun, the culasse, or the breech. Now above it is a small hole in the top of the gun, known as the lumiere, or touch hole, allowing a connection between a priming charge and a charge you would put down the barrel, or trunnions, that allow the gun to pivot on the carriage. And of course, that itself is one of two carriages that would be outfitted to the French cannons and English captured guns here at Fort Carillon. One would be the campaign carriage, or carriage with large rouage, able to travel easily across land. Of the gun, in which the aiming wedge, or that small cheese-shaped block, sits, allowing for this gun to be aimed, changing the elevation of it. Now, all the way to the back of the carriage is going to be some more metal work. Now, this is down range, you're going to need a specific amount of powder. Hay grass used as wadding. Now, that large, heavy shot that you've all been passed around, That's great if your enemy is upwards of 2 miles away, the range at which this cannon has. But if your enemy gets closer, let's say a little priming charge. But to open up that connection, he has two tools. One is an iron pick and one is a brass pick, known as the dégauchoir and the épinglette, allowing him to make a connection between those two amounts of powder. There are posts on the gun with their levers next to them, taking them up, waiting for the command to on the battery, off the battery. Well, once in place, they'll get the command to simply putting them back in their place. The next command they will hear is command to the front left picks up that acouvion, wetting it, so he is ready to swap the gun. The man to the rear of the piece takes his thumb and puts it over the lumière, or the touch hole. The canonnier goes back to the petit magasin with his lanterne, ready to scoop out the appropriate amount of powder. Now he's given the command to actually swab the piece. He's going to push that hardwood staff down, barrel, turning it around a few times, but leaving it there in the barrel. Taking it out and putting it back to its place. And now the canonnier will take that lanterne, putting it into the barrel, placing that powder at the breech of the gun, turning it around 180 degrees, depositing that powder, and leaving it in the barrel, waiting for the command to taking it out and putting it back in its place. Now the man to the rear of the gun is going to run up the bouchon de ferrage. The man in the front left, hands already ready to do so, ready to put that in the barrel. He's going to take up his rammer head. He's going to ram that on top of the powder, seating it at the breech of the gun with 8 to 10 firm thrusts. And again, leaving it in the barrel, so he may hear the command to. This time putting it against the embrasure, not back in its place, for he's to need it very soon. Man to the rear of the piece runs up now the shot, hard shot, or perhaps the mitraille, Gauguste mitraille, placing it inside the barrel. Now again, another bouchon de ferrage, another wad will be run up the man to the front left, and already ready to accept that wad, put it immediately into the barrel. Now the platform that this gun rests on is actually at an angle. So utilizing those simple machines as well as gravity, they bring that gun into place. Now they're going to put those leviers in specific places so that this gun may be aimed. Now the gunner himself will be using a simple piece like this to aim the cannon. Shaped to the back of the breech with the command to pointer. Now that will be placed on there, and by using hand signals and voice commands as to not confuse the men, the canonnier is going to take out either his dégauchoir or his épinglette, pricking a small hole, connect that priming charge to the charge placed down the barrel. And he's going to mount that up on top of the back of the breech. You will then hear the command. Now the man with the linstock will make his way up to the platform, and the gunner will stand up on the embankment, see where that shot to go. Bringing that linstock up in front of him. Firing off that. Now upon firing that, they will all immediately snap back to their places. Now notice, these soldiers and artillerists were doing this not quickly, but going through these steps methodically, with a specific aim in mind. So they acquire a sense of discipline going over these steps one by one, slowly going through it. Now this is not meant to go fast, as I said prior. This is for a meticulous firing of siege artillery. Now this could be done for a prolonged period of time, as long as 3 days, in an unprecedented decision, is that he draws his forces out of the fort, up onto the heights, and he has his men in just 3 days' time, construct a quarter-mile long, 8-foot-high, zigzag-patterned earthen redoubt that we call the French lines. In front of it, he cuts 50 yards of trees, and then takes them and lays them over the top of each other, kind of like modern-day barbed wire known as abattis. Now, during that battle, the English are going to launch wave upon wave of English forces at the French fortification. Now, in attempts to get around that French fortification, the English are going to employ the use of barges, or radeaux, filled with artillery pieces sailing down the Le Chute River, which you see Le Chute Bay out before you here. Now, once those English barges full of artillery, who, by the way, wanted to create an artillery battery at the foot of Mount Defiance, to fire right here on the fort, Lieutenant Louvincourt of the French artillery will have his men create a battery up on the south bastion, dragging those cannons up there, and as soon as those barges come into view, his men will be given the order to firing off those cannons and sending those English vessels back up the Le Chute River, and taking not only that, but taking the head off the commander of the British artillery, and with that, any hopes of them establishing a position at the base of Mount Defiance. Now, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us today for this cannon firing demonstration. Thank you. But before I go,
Yeah, these miniatures represent the German soldiers that served as British land.
Here comes the chicken after you, Benny.
I just texted my buddy. You want to run?
very endangered species now. You hardly ever see any of them, so don't have to worry about that. When the English take over, name will be changed to Sugarloaf because it's going to resemble a loaf of sugar. And then when the Americans take over, this becomes Mount Defiance, and that wooded peninsula over there is going to become Mount Independence. Now, points to the compass so you know where you're at, because a lot of people get up here and they are confused. That's east, that's west, that's south, that's north. Everything on the other side of the water, that's all what today is known as Vermont. Back during the American Revolution period, that is the New Hampshire grants. New Hampshire claims it, New York claims it. So where it joins in with the Richelieu River system and then the St. Lawrence Seaway. Lake George, answering your question, other side of that ridge right there. Lake George, 220 feet higher in elevation than Champlain. So right over there on the right-hand side of that ridge, let us say, it is 1754. You don't have fortification down there. There's no need for it at that time. You all have a series of fortifications stretching up Lake Champlain, headed up towards Canada. Every few miles, there's another fort. The closest one to here is 10 miles north of where Crown Point is today. You can still see the ruins of the foundation out there today, right beside the bridge. But it's a little fort, and it's an old fort, and it's never going to withstand